Hi, I'm Tori Norton. I have a yin class for you today. A couple blocks would be helpful. A bolster or a couch cushion would be helpful. And we'll definitely need a strap that will allow the arms to stretch out at complete length. That could be a leash. It could be a belt. I'm going to start seated on my cushion, my bolster. If you'd like to sit on the block instead, that works just as well. If you prefer to sit on your shins with the block between the ankles, or even two blocks between the ankles, that works also. And it's a gentle quad stretch. So find a pose where you're comfortable and you can settle into the practice. We'll start by tuning our awareness inward to the breath. You might feel comfortable closing the eyes, letting the eyelids fall down over the eyeballs, and just focus the attention inward so that you can feel the breath as it comes in through the nose. You'll feel the breath move into the throat area, the chest area, the belly area, moving the ribs as each inhale comes in, an expansion on your inhale, and a drift right back to exhale. So each inhale expands and fills you up like a balloon filling. And each exhale, you drift right back home, right back to your center. So become familiar with that rhythm and try to balance it out. Balance it so that your inhale and exhale are of equal length. Ideal breath would be about 5.5 to 6.5 seconds long. Find what you can do comfortably. That's what we'll work with right now. Let each inhale come through the nose, fill the chest, the ribs, and even the belly. Each exhale, sink back, drift in towards center, towards your core. Let's add the breath to the hands. So as you inhale, inflate the arms up, reach them up above the head, sun breath. And as you exhale, drop the hands back down in front of the heart center, palms together. 2 more, just like that. Inhale, reach out, lift the ribs, lift the chin, look up. Exhale, empty out completely, thumbs drop down in front of the heart space. 3rd one, here we go. Inhale, reach out, reach up. Full exhale, bring those hands right back in front of the heart center. Let's add a twist. Again, sweep the arms out and up, and this time we'll twist to the right. Twist will come from the base of the spine, up the ribs into the shoulders. Arms drop down to the right side. Take a full breath in here and a full breath out. 2nd side, inhale, sweep the arms up. Twist to the left, navel twists, ribs twist, shoulders twist, arms down to the left. Full breath in and a full breath out. Let's bring the arms back up. We'll bring the palms together and hands down in front of heart center. So with your palms right there at your heart center, go ahead and bow the head forward so you lengthen the back of your neck. And take 2 breaths here, inviting space between the vertebra of the neck. You might feel the breath moving in through the nose and offering extra space through the neck and throat. Release the hands down to the knees and lift your eye gaze up to level set. We'll start with a neck stretch, right ear, down toward the right shoulder. And you can tuck your left hand back behind you. You might even have that left hand coming out over on the right side. If that's the case, take a hold of that wrist and pull it over a little bit further to the right hip. Right ear toward right shoulder, left hand toward right hip. Lift the chin now. So the left side of the nose and the ear, the left ear, lift. The left side of the jaw stretches up. You can feel that from jaw to clavicle. Take one more breath here. Extend up with the chin. With your exhale, soften the whole pose and return to center. Level set the eyes. All right, second side. Left ear dips down toward left shoulder. Right hand tucks back behind you. And if the hand extends over toward the left hip, grab a hold of it and extend it further over toward the left. That's just increasing the stretch there on the right side of the neck. Let your exhales dip your left shoulder down even further toward your left ear. Left ear down toward your left shoulder. And then go ahead and lift the chin, the right side of the chin, the right side of the nose, the right ear lifts up toward the ceiling, stretching from the right ear down to that right clavicle. Right underneath the jaw there, you'll feel the stretch. One more big breath, come to the top of your stretch. And as you exhale, release the whole pose, level set the eyes. You'll roll the shoulders here. Let's move back to supported fish. I'm going to use blocks for my supported fish. If you'd like to use your bolster, that works also. I'll start by showing you a demonstration with the blocks. So you want the top one available for your head if you need it. And you want the middle one available for your shoulder blades. So as we recline, we'll bring the shoulder blades onto that first block. And again, this is the shoulder blades, not the low back, but way up between the pointy shoulder blades. So the heart lifts and the head drops back perhaps to the floor. Perhaps you have a half a block or a blanket. Perhaps the whole block makes more sense. And some of you may even need to tip that block up a little bit higher to get comfortable. Ideally, there is a stretch for the neck here too, so the head drops back. Arms extend out beside you, palms up to help those shoulder blades rotate underneath the body. You have a wonderful heart opening pose here. And as you're here a little longer, you might find you can remove a block to get yourself deeper into the pose. So remove your prop or block from underneath the head if you find space available. Some of you might choose to use a bolster. You may already be in that pose. Set the bolster up so it aligns with the spine. And recline right down onto the bolster. Same thing, head supported or dropping off the back edge of the bolster. Arms out beside you, about 45 degrees from the body. And if you have a thick bolster, the distance from the bolster to the floor might just be perfect. You might need a block. So no matter which shape you've chosen, the blocks or the bolster, go ahead and consider bringing the feet together. Soles of the feet come together and the knees drop out to the sides for a reclining fish with butterfly legs. Butterfly is a pose you're probably familiar with, and you can make this a gentle start, or you could bring the knees in or the heels in a little closer to the hips in order to deepen this adductor stretch for the legs. And once you're set up, tune in again to that breath. We were working with about a 5 or 6 second breath, balanced by an exhale of the same length. Tune your awareness to balancing that breath. And allow the body to open at its own pace. Shift your focus to the awareness of the shape of your breath. This might be around full breath. You might find that it's more of an oval breath with a big inhale and a big exhale and just short turns at the top and the bottom of the breath. Your breath might be more square with inhales and exhales of equal length and holds at the top and the bottom of the breath as you turn it from inhale to exhale. So just notice the shape. You don't need to do anything about it, just notice it. Be aware of the shape your breath is taking. Try to keep your mind steady and engaged with the posture or with the breath. The mind wanders, that's not highly unusual. But for our hour here on the mat, we're trying to keep the mind focused, centered, and present for the practice. So if the mind is to wander, allow it to have a tiny little job to keep it connected to the breath. You could let the mind narrate the breath with I breathe in, I breathe out. You could let the mind count the length of your inhale and the length of the exhale. Whatever you choose to do, keeping the mind connected to the breath keeps you present. There's an ease that's brought into the body when the mind can settle. This evening stretching, settling the breath, settling the mind. An hour from now, we'll feel fantastic. Take about 3 more rounds of breath here. And that's about 30 seconds, right? If you've got a 5-second inhale and exhale, 3 breaths can measure half a minute. You might want to start with bringing the knees back together. And eventually roll off your props to one side. You will come upright for that butterfly pose all over again. So when you're upright, you might choose a counter posture that makes the body feel good, like windshield wipering the knees from right to left. Maybe stillness feels good. I definitely recommend a block for this next posture. Lift the hips up onto a block, and we'll move straight to that same butterfly pose we just used in that last shape. Feet together, heels in, again, as close as you can get them to the body. And we'll bring the hands behind us to help elevate the spine, lifting the head, finding the breath. And we'll take a few bobs forward and back, keeping the spine straight, but lengthening the low back. So the stretch is coming from the low back, not the upper back. There's no need to bend your nose over and try to touch your toes and rounding the back. We're staying with a straight back and leaning forward. Go ahead and bring your hands forward and we'll find a pose which we can hold. Feet press in toward one another. Back remains straight. Some of you may be able to bring your hands out farther in front of you. Some of you may be able to bring your forearms down to the mat. This is another good place for a block or for a bolster. You might need both. Something to support your head as you get into the posture. Some of you will be very upright and have plenty of stretch. Don't worry about what the pose looks like. As long as you still have plenty of stretch going on in the low back and the inner thighs, you're fine.
We aren't staying all that long in this pose. We've already started it off in a reclining fish. Just going in a little bit deeper here. Take a half minute and notice the breath. Let the mind and the breath work together. Maybe that I breathe in, I breathe out mantra. And as we exit this pose, come back
Upright if you're not already quite upright. And we'll remove that block from underneath us. So feet on the ground, windshield wiper, or stretch out those legs. And take that block out from underneath you. So stretch the legs forward, and we're going to take another pose with the butterfly shape, but this one will feel quite different. So again, the soles of the feet together, but instead of having them in by the hips, we're going to have them extended out quite far. And for this one, if you have a blanket to sit on or a bolster that you could bring in behind you, that's helpful to tip the hips forward if your hips happen to tip backward a little bit. So just a little wedge underneath the hips to help tip you forward is helpful. Feet slide as far away from you as you can get them, heels together. And then we'll thread the arms underneath the calves. And that might be as far as you can go. We'll keep the back straight. And over time, we'll begin to lean forward. This bears no resemblance to that last pose. It's a completely different stretch, more for the hip than the inner thigh. Again, stay with the straight back. There's no need to put the head to the heels. And over time, as the muscles release, you may feel yourself melting further into the pose. You may even be able to slide the elbows underneath the legs. Some of you might choose to put a block or two blocks on your feet or in front of your feet to catch the weight of the head. It doesn't matter how far into the pose you get, as long as you are feeling the stretch, you're doing it. Use your breath here. If the pose is intense, try to use the breath to bring some ease into the pose. That balanced breath we started with is good at setting the nervous system into a balanced place, into a state of relaxation. Ideal breath somewhere between 5.5 and 6.5 seconds. So go ahead and balance the breath as you're here. And if over time you find you can remove a block and come further down into the posture, that's another choice. Some of you may be able to get your head right down onto your feet. That's fine. No bonus points for that. If you're feeling the pose, you're doing it. And each of us will have different range of flexibility. Flexibility is not essential here. Stretching is what we're doing. We're encouraging the soft tissue to stretch. You don't need to be flexible to do that. We're building flexibility. But you don't need to be flexible to do the yin practice. As you're ready, bring yourself back up to a seated pose. And once again, we're going to extend those legs. Maybe windshield wiper side to side. Move your props out of the way and reach for your strap. We're going to find our way back down onto our backs, this time using the strap. This next posture is one of my favorites. We're truly opening up the whole hip. It's very unexciting, but very practical, very efficient. So bend your right knee and put the strap over the ball of the right foot and extend that right leg up. Straighten out that right leg as much as you can. It's a hamstring stretch, the back of the right leg. Allow the right thigh to settle down into that right hip. And when you're comfortable, you might choose to put a strap twist around the palm so that you make it easier to hold. We're going to start with the leg moving out to the right side. So when you're ready, begin to drift that right leg out to the right side. And you can allow that leg to hover. You could extend that right leg down a little bit further toward the bottom of the mat. Or you could tug that right leg a little higher up toward the top of the mat. You definitely want to feel a stretch in the leg. And some of you might choose to put a block underneath the leg, the calf, just to help hold it so not all the weight is not stuck in the arm. Strap is in the right arm. Left shoulder is down on the mat. We'll be here for another half minute. You can measure that in breath. 3 circuits of breath. All right, that was just the warm up. We'll now bring that right leg up above us where we started. And we'll put the strap into the other hand. So keep the right leg in the strap. Then we're going to move the right leg over to the left side. So move the strap into the left hand. Maybe you put a wrap around the palm of the left hand to make it easier to hold. Right arm out beside you. Right leg across the body. So the strap will help to stretch the outer edge of your right thigh. Allow the stretch. Don't hold the breath, invite breath into the pose. And we'll be here for a full minute. So that could be measured in 6 breaths. Some of you may find you roll way over to the left side, and that's fine. Some of you might choose to put a block eventually underneath one of those legs, underneath a knee or calf. You can shift your glance over to your right shoulder and right hand. That will allow the right body to stretch and the neck to stretch also. And if it would help, you can count the breath. All right, here we go. Bend that right knee. Take the strap off the right foot, and we'll come onto our back. Extend both feet down the mat, and you might immediately notice a difference from the left foot to the right foot, from the left leg to the right leg. Let's go ahead and try the same series on the other side. So we'll put the strap over the ball of the left foot and extend the left leg up. Left hand holds the strap. Perhaps there's a wrap on that left hand to help hold on to it. Right arm out beside you. Left leg out to the left. So we'll start here. You choose where to put the foot, closer up to the shoulder, closer down to the bottom of the mat, and right out beside you. If you find you need a bolster or block underneath that left leg, go ahead and add that. 3 more breaths here. All right, that was our warm up. Here we go for the deep stretch. Left leg comes up above us. Right hand takes the strap. Right hand brings the leg across the body. So left arm out beside you, left leg crosses the body, and you can choose how far to roll over to the right side. You could tuck your right hip underneath you. You could add a bolster or a block for that leg, but try to bring that left shoulder down onto the mat. Cast your gaze over toward your left hand and allow the left side body to fully open with this posture. And we are here for a full minute now. You might notice where in your body the breath travels. You may be able to place the breath right into that left rib cage and expand the lung to stretch the ribs at the same time the pose is stretching the ribs. And the more pressure you put on the strap, the more intensity you'll feel in that left IT band area, the left outer thigh. So about one breath left here. And we'll bring that left leg up. Take the strap off the leg and find your way again onto your back, both legs extended. Just take a moment, turn your awareness to your breath. Hands might be on your belly or on your heart. Take about 3 full breaths here before we come upright again. When you're ready to come upright, we'll meet eyes level, props out of the way. You could sit cross-legged. You could sit up on a block. We're going to work a little more with the arms. You could sit cross-legged on a block or maybe on your shins. This also works standing if you prefer. On your shins, sometimes 2 blocks. Nice. 2 blocks with the blocks between the ankles is helpful. All right, let's get going here. A little shoulder stretching. So keep your strap nearby for this one. And we'll just start by extending that right arm out and up, bending the right elbow and letting the right hand dangle down behind the head. So that might be enough stretch here for you, but it's nice to place the weight of the left hand on top of that elbow. So if you can add the weight of the hand, that's a nice addition. Notice your breath here in this posture with the arms lifting the ribcage up. You might press down with that left hand or down and back with the left hand. Find the stretch that serves you. Breathe right into it. One more breath here, full breath. Same length of the inhale that you have of the exhale. And bring the arms down. Go ahead and roll the shoulders. This time the left arm sweeps out and up. Left elbow bends, left hand drops down behind the back of that left head. Oh, the left head, yeah. If you have 2 heads, put it behind your left head. Otherwise, put it behind that left shoulder and your only head. Right hand might sit on top of the elbow. Right hand presses down and back a little bit. Find your breath. Two more series of breath here. Go ahead and follow your breath through that whole inhale the gentle turn at the top of the pose, the top of the breath. The whole exhale, and notice the bottom of the breath too. Notice where the breath rises from as the next breath starts. All right, bring those arms down, roll the shoulders a little bit. Shoulders shrug up toward the ears, and then shoulder blades slide back down the back of the body as the neck lengthens, length on both sides of the neck. This time, sweep the right arm out beside you, and we'll travel it across in front of us and over to the left. Use your left arm like a forklift. That left elbow will scoop in and grab a hold of that right arm. The more you pull that left arm towards you, the deeper stretch you'll get into the upper right arm and the right shoulder. Often we do this pose on our belly, sleeping owl pose. Today we are upright, stretching the right shoulder. So you could close your eyes. You could focus your attention on your breath. We'll be here for about another half minute. Allow the breath into the stretch. Because these are just poses, just stretches, just physical therapy if you don't add your breath. It's not yoga until you connect the breath with the stretch. And truly, that is where you embody the stretch and the magic happens. All right, release that nicely stretched right arm and shake it out a little bit. Second side, left arm out beside you. Left hand travels in front of you and over to the other side. Use your right arm to scoop up that left arm. So that right elbow becomes the forklift here, and it draws back toward your face. Right hand draws toward the face, stretching that left shoulder. And we'll be here for about another half minute. So go ahead, measure that with your breath. Eyes could be open or closed. Breath is balanced and moving easily in through the nose, to the throat, to the chest, to the ribs. Each exhale softening and moving back toward your center. All right, release. Two nice open arms. One more shoulder pose, and we're going to call this shoulder flossing. We're going to need a strap. So the strap needs to be about the length of your arms, all the way extended out. Hands out in front of you, about shoulder distance apart. So what's that, about 18 inches? We're just going to lift the arms up. Lift the arms and the strap up above the head. Reach the arms back without loosening your grip on the strap. Reach back as far as you can go. And then we'll slowly loosen the grip on the strap and slide our hands out until we have the arms in sort of a Y shape. And lean the arms back further behind you. Take a breath in and out here. And then we'll go all the way out. We'll slide the arms out as far as they need to go to bring the strap all the way down behind the shoulder blades. And right in the middle of the shoulder blade area, you'll find an interesting little bump, and that is where we will floss. We'll go back and forth over that edge. And then next time you come down, bring the arms all the way down to the ground. Soften the shoulders. And now that you know how to do that, we'll do it one more time. So bring the strap back in front of you. Arms out in front at shoulder distance. Arms drift up. Keep the strap at shoulder distance. Enjoy that stretch there. Arms reach back a little further beyond your ears, beyond the plane of your ears. Slide the arms out into a Y shape. Again, drift the arms back beyond the plane of the ears. And then spread the arms all the way out as far as you need to go. Keep a little pressure on the strap. as you find the place that needs a little flossing. So give yourself a little pressure to help open up the shoulders. This should feel very good, not just now, into the next day. You might find you're throwing your arms around tomorrow because you have so much more range. That said, you know your body. Keep it safe. We're stretching. We're not trying to injure the body. We're looking to work with the edge of our range. Push ourselves a little bit, but not injure the body. Don't go too far. Relax the arms. We're totally done with that strap. You can get rid of that now. All right, so let's come off the block. We'll move to dragonfly pose. And if you have a mat, you might want to be horizontal on the mat so the feet have something to sit on. If you have a nice soft surface, that's fine. You might be comfortable with your heels on the floor. If your feet walk out just a little bit, if they're barely in a V, that's okay. If your hips rock backward and you feel like you need a bolster behind you, then go ahead and add a bolster behind you. You're going to sit up on the edge of the bolster and drift to the very front edge and dip down off the front edge so you have a little lift there. But legs out as much as they will go. It might be a short distance, it might be a very far distance. It doesn't matter how far apart those legs are. This is about taking the place where we feel the stretch and moving it in a little deeper. So each of us will look a little different. But if you're feeling it, you're doing it. Blocks, you might set up a block or two, the tall way if you don't think you're going to fold too far in. Again, we'll start the hands behind us and lengthen the spine. And we'll keep the spine straight as we slowly enter the pose a few times. So back and forth, slowly entering into this dragonfly pose. Eventually bring the hands in front of you and allow the heart to move toward the ground. And some of us won't get any further than this. As long as you're feeling the stretch for the legs, backs of the legs, the inside of the legs perhaps. As long as you feel that, you're doing this stretch. It's fine. If you have a hamstring tear or your hamstrings are very tight, maybe you want to roll a blanket and put it beneath the knee, or even one of the shorter blocks might be nice to give a little relief for the hamstring, but allow you to still get into the pose. Some of you may be able to bring forearms down onto the block or to the blocks. You might stack them and bring both forearms onto two, or put one forearm on each block. Some of you might be able to put your forearms on the floor or your chest on the ground. So wherever you are is fine, as long as you're feeling the stretch, you're doing the pose. We're not trying to achieve any shape. There are no bonus poses for getting your chest down to the ground. You just want to work to stretch the soft tissue, to strain the soft tissue in the body. When you strain the soft tissue, it responds by getting stronger and more flexible. Just like our muscles respond to strain, they get stronger and more flexible when we exercise those. So basically exercising our soft tissue. If you'd like to place one of the blocks underneath your head, go ahead and do that. Or perhaps it's a stack of the blocks. The nice thing about a block under the forehead is that the neck can relax. When the neck relaxes, it sends the message all throughout the body to relax. So as we're trying to get the legs to open and the hips to relax, relaxing the neck is a really good idea.
Again, if the mind wanders, notice that and bring it back to the pose, to the sensation of the stretch, or to a sound you might hear in the room you're in. You could bring the mind back to synchronize with the breath. But try to keep the mind present. A good, healthy mind can jump all around, and we allow it, we encourage it through most of the day. But while we're on the mat, we can't stop the mind from thinking, but we certainly can focus it on just one thing and allow the whole body and mind to rest. So sensation is very good for that. Engaging your mind in the sensation of the breath or the sound in the room, the scent, the feeling of the breeze, all of those things are sensations that allow the mind to synchronize with the body and live right in the present moment. All right, as you're ready to exit this pose, begin to bring yourself back up slowly. Leave your legs right where they are. We'll take a gentle twist to the right. So bring your right hand behind you, glance back over your right shoulder, left hand is in front of you. Just one more breath here. We'll twist the other way, right hand in front of you, left hand behind you. Turn to the left, look over the left shoulder. Bring both hands forward. You might need to use your hands to help bring the legs in. They were out there pretty far for pretty long. And be easy with the body as you move slowly. All right, we're moving on to our hands and knees next, tabletop pose. So clear props out of the way. You might want to put the blocks at the top of your mat. We're going to really work into the hips a little bit more now. So from tabletop pose, you can stay right here. Knees could take be padded if you like. Back is straight. Claw the mat a little bit so the fingers are engaged and you're lifting up out of your joints rather than putting weight down into your joints. Those of you who know and love down dog could tuck your toes and lift your hips. Keeping your hands in front of your shoulders, you could take a downward dog pose. So if you're in down dog, you could pedal out the knees. If you're in tabletop pose, one leg at a time. Stretch your right foot back to the back of the mat and stretch the calf. And then do the other leg, stretch the left foot back and stretch the calf. If you're in down dog, you're already doing that. Maybe stillness now. Straight back wherever you are. And here we go. We're moving to the middle of the mat. So you can walk or jump to the middle of the mat. So if you're at the table, you might want to just bring the feet onto the mat and fold forward for a deep hamstring stretch. And those in a down dog might walk or spring to the middle of the mat. But we'll all meet right here in this ragdoll shape. Feet are hip distance apart and we're working the back of the legs here. You might want those blocks. So some of you might have your hands wrapped around the back of your knees. Others of you might want blocks for your hands here. Let's take a big breath wherever you are. Lift up halfway so the back is flat and the legs are straight. And with your exhale, fold forward, melt down toward the ground. One more time. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. All right, use the blocks now. We'll step that left foot forward and the right foot lunges back. And we'll start with our runner's pose. And then we'll bring that left hand and left block inside that left foot. So left foot is the top left of the corner, left corner of the mat. Right foot is back at the right end of the mat. When we have a high lunge lizard pose, you could look up. You could bring your elbow, left elbow up onto that left knee, but bring your gaze upward. We're taking a nice stretch for that right leg. And pretty soon we're going to drop that right knee down and the right ankle down to the ground. So the tops of the toes will be on the ground, and we'll continue to stretch into that right leg. And eventually we're going to go in a little bit deeper, and we'll take that left foot, we'll move it out toward the left edge of the mat, or just over toward the left. Some of you may need to even dial the toes out to a 45-degree angle before you're able to feel this stretch. Some of you might want your hands on blocks or your forearms on blocks. Maybe some of you will put just one forearm down on the block and bring the left hand to the left knee. The goal here is to stretch that left hip open as much as it would like to go. That right leg is back behind us. It's a beautiful hip flexor stretch on the right. And here we are. We are in a lizard pose, often known as a dragon pose when you're in the yin practice. And each of us needs to go to different variations. So some of us will be in that very first variation, the runner's stretch. And others might need to bend the back leg and reach the left hand back for the right leg just to feel it. So go to the pose you need to be in order to stretch your fascia, your ligaments, your tendons. We do want to stress them. We might even put a little pressure down onto the right toes and the right shin to open up that right hip flexor just a little further. And wherever you are, settle in. We will be here for yet another minute. And this is the place you may need to work to modify your breath. Sometimes the breath slows down or gets a little panicky in these poses. Try to keep the breath in a 5 or 6 second inhale and exhale. That balanced breath tells your nervous system that you've got this. You're fine. You may feel a little heat. That's fine. Any kind of electrical sensations, shooting sensations, pain, that would be an indication to definitely back off. All right, let's lift ourselves back up and out of this pose. We'll meet in child's pose. Then you choose your variation of child's pose. If you bring the knees together and sink the hips back to the heels, you'll get a very deep rounding for the low back. If you prefer the version of child's pose with the knees wider, there's a little more space for the chest. You can settle down into that version of child's pose. Feel the breath and where it goes in this pose. Child's pose. 30 seconds, just a moment to take a break at the end of the posture. Second side. So let's lift back up to table or maybe down dog, the pose that you chose last time. If you're in table, take a moment to stretch out the calves on both sides before we begin to move into the posture. If you're in down dog, make sure your hands are squarely in front of your shoulders before you tuck your toes and lift your hips. Either way, we'll stretch the backs of the legs and straighten out the spine. Head and neck still in line with the spine. Dangling pose is our next posture. So those of you in down dog might step or hop to the middle of the mat. Those of you in table may want to stand up onto your shins and step onto your feet. Same thing we did last time. Let's take a nice halfway lift with a big inhale and fold into ragdoll with the exhale. And again, we'll do that twice. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Second side, you might want blocks for this side of our lizard pose. Right foot steps forward, left foot lunges back. We'll start with that left knee in the air and the right knee stacked over the right ankle. You could use the blocks or you could bring your hands up to that front knee. You might need to step the feet a little wider so that you don't tip over. You want a good firm balance. If you have a thick mat or if you're practicing on a carpet, it's a little harder to balance. Not a problem, just know that it's just a little more difficult for you. And again, each of us in different places, doesn't matter what it looks like, you need to feel it in order to activate the fascia, strengthening and stretching. All right, let's drop that left knee down. Of course, you can toss a blanket or pad underneath that left knee if needed. Left toes drop down toward the ground. And let's go ahead and bring that right arm in next to the left arm so blocks are right inside the front foot. Here you have your first stage, and this might be enough. It's a great hip flexor stretch for the front of the left hip. It's a nice hip opener on the right. Some of you will need to go farther to feel the stretch. And those people would need to walk the foot out farther to the right, maybe dial the toes out to the right, maybe roll to the outer edge of the right foot. Wherever you are, set up a comfortable pose that you could hold for a full minute. Forearms down, maybe on 2 blocks, maybe on 1 block, maybe forearms are on the floor. Your right hand could come to that right knee if you need more intensity. Your right hand could reach back for that left foot if you need more intensity. So find the variation of this lizard pose that serves you, and we'll be here. We'll be here for quite a bit, so allow your breath to settle in. Balanced breath tells the nervous system, you've got this. It shifts you, it down regulates you into a place of rest and digest. That part of the nervous system is where all healing happens, where little tiny muscle tears are healed up. Sometimes emotional healing, often physical healing, boosting of the immune system, all happens right there when you go into that balanced breath with a sympathetic nervous system. You've got this. And that went quickly. Here we are, right at the end of our lizard pose. Child's pose again is our counter posture. So bring yourself back up onto your knees and find your favorite variation of child's pose. Knees touching, knees a little wider, or for those of you who still want quite a bit of stretch, knees maybe beyond the edges of the mat. Big toes touch and hips shift back. 30 seconds. Home base, just touch it. All right, we are moving out of our lizard poses back up to table pose. And we're going to address Pigeon pose next. Those of you using down dog into a full pigeon are welcome to go ahead and get started. Pigeon pose will look like this. And if that is not feeling safe for your knee, your right knee, I invite you to have your variation of pigeon be a figure 4 pose on your back. So either set up for pigeon on the right side or on your back for figure 4 with that right ankle crossing the left knee. And those on the back will need to lift that left foot and pull the left leg in. Pull the left leg in, pull the left shin in, and allow that right hip to open up. So if you're in figure 4, you're getting the same stretch you're getting in pigeon. Those in pigeon pose have probably already moved into a place where the right knee is forward by the right wrist, and the right foot is in the middle of the mat or maybe further over. Left leg straight out behind you, very similar to that lizard pose. Nice opening in that left hip flexor while you're in your upward pigeon pose. As we settle into the pigeon pose, I always recommend a support for the head. Same reason. Support the neck. Allow it to relax. Place the head down on a block or on the earth. And allow your right hip to open up. Some of you might be more comfortable with a block or a bolster underneath that right hip so you can keep that low back level. And if you find you've rolled way over onto one hip, like you're over on your right side, what can you do to level it out? Level out the low back for your pigeon pose. I breathe in, I breathe out. Learning on a cellular level how to continue that breath flow even when things are pretty intense. So here on the mat, deep stretch poses, great place to practice moving the breath easily in and out. This is what we take with us off the mat. This memory of how to breathe through tension, through difficult times. Let's move to pigeon on the second side or to figure 4 on the second side. So those of you moving out of pigeon can move right back to down dog and take some time to stretch that right leg out, the one that was just underneath you. And you could do that in table or you could do that from down dog. You might want to circle that right knee a little bit, just opening that right hip. And those of you on your back, figure 4, left ankle over right knee. Those of you moving into pigeon, left knee forward to left wrist. Both thighs line up at the sides of the mat. Right foot walks back. Hip is padded if it needs it to keep low back level. Those in pigeon might start with proud pigeon, a nice right hip flexor stretch. But then we'll fold forward into sleeping pigeon or half pigeon. Forehead down and supported by the earth or a block. And those of you on your back, figure 4, left ankle over right knee. Lifting the right foot off the mat and pulling the right leg in until you feel a stretch in the left hip. For those of you on your back, hands could be on the shin, or if the knee doesn't like that, you can put your hands behind the thigh. But it's the pulling in of that right leg that offers a stretch to the left hip. Ease in the breath. Ease in the neck and the shoulders.
As we're ready to exit the pose, move back, those in table, those in pigeon, move back to either table or down dog and take a moment to stretch out that left leg, maybe circle the left leg. And again, that can be done from table or down dog. Those on your back, we're joining you, so stay right where you are. We're going to finish our practice in Shavasana pose. I'm always a fan of bringing a bolster underneath my knees for Shavasana, which offers a little release to the low back. I know some of you know and love legs up the wall pose. That's a great pose here if you'd like to use that instead. Get yourself comfortable. Bring your palms out beside you. Let your shoulders rest and palms turn up. Let your hips rest. One more time, tune the awareness to the breath. And follow that breath in and out. Balance the breath. Another 2 rounds here. And then completely relax, release. Don't even worry about the breath. Just enjoy all the opening you've offered your body today. And allow the energy to circulate through the body. You've cleared blockages and tightnesses and tension. The space in Shavasana is pure healing. Immune system boosting. Enjoy your Shavasana. If you're able to extend your Shavasana and remain on the floor, I highly recommend that. If, however, you would like to finish your Shavasana at the top of the hour, go ahead and begin to bring some motion back into your fingers and toes. And eventually draw those knees in toward your chest. You can seal your practice here on your back or rolling to one side. Wherever you are, take a moment to send out some gratitude while your body's nice and open and clear. Gratitude's a wonderful two-way street. What are you grateful for? Send out a giant thank you at the end of each practice. Maybe you have another way to seal your practice. Maybe there's an intention you're working with. You could renew that here. Maybe there's a mantra you work with through the practice. Great time to touch back with that now. And when you've sealed the practice, bring yourself back up to a seated pose. And we'll finish the practice as we started. Maybe on a block, maybe on a bolster. Nice straight spine. Crown of the head lifts. Shoulders fall down the back. Air in and out through the nose. 5.5 or 6.5 seconds on your inhale. Same on your exhale.
All right, bring the palms together. Namaste.